Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, yeah, just want to get that straightened out. Probably should have hit the weed after I turned on the camera, but I wanted to do a little therapy session because I was listening to Ticket TV as I often do. Shout out to Ticket TV, you guys go check out his content. And he was talking about Shaq. Excuse me, you guys. And essentially what his thought was that Shaq was more or less doubling down on the Kyrie Irving position, I guess is what I'll say. And what it really came down to was he was essentially saying, look, challenging the establishment is not smart. If you have a job like his, obviously what you want to do is not challenge them, because what you're going to do is ultimately put your livelihood at risk, lose all of that you have, and that's unwise. As I often say, it takes a lot to keep a lot. And if you're going to risk a lot, you got to know what it feels like to lose a lot. Or you're going to know what it feels like to lose a lot. Excuse me. So that's really what it comes down to, man, as my lungs continue to work against me. This is one of those situations where I just ask Shaquille to open his mind to an idea where challenging the establishment is actually the right decision to make based on the positioning that is about to happen. With the world changing as it is, people are awakening to a new understanding. And a lot of us don't have a lot of money. So this is what we have, that truth. We feel like once we have that truth, it can kind of answer a few questions. Maybe even put us in positions to have the confidence to do some things that maybe we were kind of not looking at trying to do. I think the most important thing that I've learned in all of this is that we are very much accepting of the way things are, but the way things are is not tumbling forward in a way that is good for artists. And that's, I just say the word artist because I don't think it's limited to black people. I really don't. I think we happen to be the talent of the day, but I can see a billion different scenarios where people change that. Even that changes. Maybe we're going to see more Asian people on TV tomorrow. Maybe we'll see more Hispanic people on TV tomorrow. And that the point is that the practices used against the talent will be in place to apply to whoever is going to be shining tomorrow. So we need to see it that way as well. It's the practices that are in place and the way that they're using those practices that need to be examined at this time. If we want to go forward with those practices at all, that's an entirely separate situation or conversation, but that those practices are being used a certain way and it doesn't necessarily seem right to all of us is ultimately why we are asking people like yourself to speak up from behind the curtain, so to speak, and put a few things at risk so that things can change. Now, if we're in the intention, if our intentions are for things to stay as they are, then you have to understand that we've been listening to other artists who have asked us to care about things such as this. I think about people like Joe Budden, who have always spoken out and said, yo, what is the value of a stream, or how can we get the proper value for our artistic works? And when artists like that cry out to the public to give a crap about something, eventually we are either going to or continue to see examples of why we should. And that's what's happening. Now we're continuing to see examples of why we should. Other artists and everybody has shown us that independence through hip-hop, we've learned, through the young guys who are really, really doing it without the investment money of some of these guys, without some of the contractual obligations attached to them that maybe some of our predecessors or people like Shaquille may have to them now. It's like, well, man, you don't have to stay in those circumstances speaking in ways that don't represent your last name the way that you would want it represented, but more so represent someone else's point of view when you speak. If that's something you sign up for and you want that job, then of course that should be something you're given. But when you want to snap out of that and say, yo, I disagree with something, it should not be something that you feel you cannot say based on your employer and their positions. And that's what we want to try to work against. We want to try to figure that out. We want to get smart enough not to support things that benefit us, that constantly push other people down in those same veins. You know what I mean? And that's really how they continue to keep people compliant with things that otherwise hurt others by making it so that those who benefit from it continue to stay silent in support of the actions when it's in their best interest to stay quiet to do so. Now it's time to say yes. Maybe it may be pointed in my direction. Maybe they're looking to say, okay, this person said the N-word, let's take everything from them. But now's the time for black people to step up and say, no, we don't like that practice if it isn't defining what it is that we're seeing properly. The energy must be defined properly when a person is saying their intentions are peaceful. We don't want to see them punished as if they're saying their intentions are bad. And that is exactly what all of this is about. We don't want our kids having to be faced with that. We don't want to see a world where maybe the next set of Shaqs and Chucks are asked to turn a blind eye to social issues that may be different for the team, for the people of the future. Maybe more important that they think outside of what they are necessarily facing. And if we continue the practices of turning a blind eye and turning a left cheek to what's actually wrong, just because it benefits us in keeping our situation together, or keeping our legacy together, or keeping us from whatever the case, then, you know, that's how this keeps going. That's how they continue to have more people they can keep from speaking out honestly when it's time for them to speak out honestly about social issues. They are not the measuring stick for all right and wrong. And that blind trust that we've applied into them based on the fact that they've been able to provide a few of us wealth is not the way forward, Shaquille. Just because you were one of the few brothers that were able to benefit from what it is that they're doing does not mean that we want to keep the practices going that you benefit from. There's got to be a better way for you to keep your wealth and legacy intact while still turning attention to the people behind the scenes asking you to shut your mouth about black things and telling you to support things that do not support you. We want those people to stop asking you to do that. Then you should be in support of being able to be free of that muzzle, even if it means a few things got to be sacrificed in your lifetime, sir. So that we can make sure that your son, when he gets a TNT job, can speak out about the social issues of the day without having somebody behind the scenes saying, I'm going to take everything from you if you do. You may be cool with that, but I'm not cool with that. You may be fine with that because you get to hand Sharif your legacy and his generational wealth that you made for him. But let me tell you, they're going to try to take it from him then. That's what you need to understand, Shaq. When you, with God looking down on your family, what you're going to end up seeing is him trying to take what it is that you set up here and did everything for, all this nonsense for. They're going to try to take it from him and their other seeds in a different way. You got to notice how they think, bro. So while you sitting up here saying, yeah, I'm going to uphold what they doing, and that's going to keep me safe, that's going to make sure that they don't, do something that they ain't got no business doing in regards to myself and my family. Wrong. Because when the karma that they got going on catches up to them, that's when it hits your home. Because you upheld the bull crap without faith that it would get better, and you being the solution to that. This is what the problem is. Nobody thinks they're the solution. And then one person steps out on the soapbox and says, hey, this is bull crap. They get silenced, and everybody else gets scared because of that example, and then they keep on going. But here's the thing that we need to understand about these buck-breaking examples. Buck-breaking is a psychological motioning. They have to do that as a display because it has to give off a feeling that otherwise promotes something in our minds that otherwise doesn't promote us to do what naturally comes if they don't do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe not. Let me express it a little further. I do not believe that they can do that to everybody. And I believe if they can do that to everybody, it would be of the most extreme inconvenience for them to live that way. And that's what we need to let them know we know. If you are going to continue to buck breakers, you need to understand that it's going to take a lot more buck breaking than what you are used to doing, what you are comfortable doing, what makes you feel safe doing. That's what they need to understand, that those practices don't harbor the same results. That when you do that, you get a different type of intellect returning at you with a different type of energy. No, we're not coming at you throwing sticks and stones. We're using the same legal tactics and the same hypocrisy used against us, and we're flipping it back at you because we're not blind to it anymore. And we're letting everybody who sees you treating us a certain way know that we see you doing it, and they should see you too. And that is ultimately the opposite of what buck breaking is supposed to do. It's supposed to scare people into doing what they're supposed to do. And it actually does is wake them up into focusing on what it is they need to do to get out from under it. The question is when you see the people rising up, are you going to be wise enough to jump in that situation with the people to see that the world is never going to be the same? Or are you going to hitch a train with the people who've been running things the wrong way? Because you believe their wrongdoings are going to continue. And if they are going to continue, then I guess you assume there is no God. And if you think there's no God, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you believe there's a God, then you need to understand why the very essence of what they're doing has to come to an end at some point. And if that is the case, if by any slight chance that is the case, then you need to understand that that time is probably right now. It's probably right now. If ever there was a time in history where that circumstance could be forming, it would be 2022, probably around November. Yeah. Because everything we've ever needed to question them and never stop questioning them again until we get those answers is now in place for the very first time. Michael Jackson didn't have an environment like that. Some of these other celebrities that have gone on didn't have an environment like that. Well, we were all looking at them saying we clearly see the tactics that you are using, and they're not going to work. You're going to have to do a lot more to us to get us to capitulate to the nonsense. And while doing so, you have to silence a lot of us too. It ain't just silencing one. Now you got to silence millions of people who are going to pop up left and right with cameras in their hands telling the truth about what they feel. It's going to get frustrating for them. That's why they got to demonstrate once so they don't have to do it 1 million times. But I'm telling you, they can't do it 1 million times, and that's the point. So, if y'all want to keep on playing around like this is going to continue, maybe, like I said, yes, I said it in the video earlier, maybe that's a scenario you can keep in your mind. Maybe they do keep it going. Maybe people just get distracted somehow and forget that this matters a lot. But, yeah, no, that's only a scenario where God doesn't exist. And so I don't like that particular scenario as it pertains to the stuff that I've seen leading up to this. Yeah, nah, that's not how this has been going. So what I would tell those behind the curtain like Shaquille is, if you're a believer, bro, it's time to start doing some praying, some thinking, some getting right, and all that. And I would imagine, if God is real, you're going to start getting the signs that you need to know that it's time for you to start changing some things in your life. Not just Shaquille, but a lot of people who are in positions to see that the tide is changing. If y'all ain't getting it yet, I'm pretty sure it's coming. But y'all going to have to figure out what you're going to do to keep your legacies from falling on behalf of those behind the curtain who need to be held accountable, and will basically be looking at that any day now. So if y'all want to play, like I said, go ahead and do what you do, and we're going to see if God actually exists, and we're going to see if this really continues playing out the way that those behind the curtain think it's going to play out. We'll see. We will see. But I can tell you, people like Shaquille who are on the wrong side of this thing, if they're wrong, if they're wrong, and those guys behind the curtain are in fact not God, then this is going to be a situation where they're going to look the opposite of the way they think they're going to look going forward for what it is that they've done. That's just my assessment. That's what I think. That doesn't actually indicate that there is a God, but it does indicate that what I've been looking at is consistent with the fact that there is a God. I will say that. I think that's the best way to describe my truth. Lining up. So, yeah. I think that at the end of the day, I don't know what I would do if I were in Shaq's position. I've already made so much money. I've already been indoctrinated in this nonsense since I was like 19 years old. I have influenced a great deal of the culture around me. You know what I mean? It's like, it gets to a point where I wonder if you're at a certain level at the top and you know what you know, you've influenced what you've influenced, and you've accomplished what you've accomplished. Does it become an evil that gets in the way of simple wisdom that would make it so that you wouldn't listen to a person like myself who hasn't accomplished a damn thing? Because from the angle that I'm at, I might have been sitting in a space long enough to figure something out that you were too busy to figure out. And that is why it's so important for all of us to listen to each other. Because yes, I'm not going to be able to tell you how to get to Shaq's money. But while I was meditating about something that Shaq wasn't thinking about, I came to the conclusion of how he can keep it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like he can keep it by getting ahead of the social understanding and the relationship that he has with the people in regards to all of the different things that he's done in the various cities that he's played. People like myself, we ain't forgot about the Christmas drives and all that stuff. We ain't forgot about none of that. So he might be acting up right now, but then I'll say something like this in the camera, like, yo, do y'all remember when Shaq used to come up every Christmas and give $1 million worth of toys to kids in the hood for nothing and never like trip at all and not ask for a whole lot of people to even come around and see it? Like, we remember these things you give. The same money that they gave you that you're trying to protect by keeping your mouth silent is the same money that you've invested into the people just to see them smile. And what I'm saying is that still holds weight. Holds plenty. We're just hurt. And we don't like that you did this. But it doesn't mean that you're not one of ours. And that's what the people behind the curtain need to understand. They need to understand that. You think you have our greats. You don't have them. What you have is them afraid that they're going to lose everything if they piss you off. Once they realize they have the support of the people, once they realize that we can see you from behind them, they're going to start realizing they don't need to be afraid of you anymore. And then we're going to see what they really think. They're just not there yet. Ain't enough of me's talking loud enough for them to say, you know what? Yeah, the tide is changing. Let me just say, yo, I don't really support all this stuff. I just got a job. You're going to start seeing more and more of that stuff. Because at the end of the day, people like to win. And they think they're on the winning side. Once they realize the side they're on is starting to, the momentum's changing colors, they're going to put on a different uniform. A lot of people are just front runners, man. Unfortunately, I got to be honest. A lot of people, and that's what the people behind the curtain need to understand. A lot of people are just front runners, brother. They don't believe in you. They don't. They just think you're winning. And I'm telling you, once they start seeing the score change, it's going to be like that. It's going to be like, yeah, man, well, I don't really know about y'all like that. I'm not necessarily married to the ideals. It's just married to the power that you happen to have. If the power gets swayed into a different hand, they're going to sing a different tune too. And that's another thing. It's like, what do you stand for? What do you stand for? Always talk about the foundation from which you stand, Well, you can build anything on anything. But if it's not a strong foundation, it's going to fall apart. You can spend 1,000,000 years building the most beautiful thing. It'll fall apart in a matter of a moment. And so what are you standing on? What is your foundation? If your foundation is standing on principles that are not right, eventually your legacy catches up to that. Even if it takes 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, eventually people are going to know that you did what you did. And as they do, your legacy changes. A lot of these guys, there's a lot of people upset that statues are being snatched down, a group of people that we consider great. Statues have been up for 300 years of slave owners and stuff like that being snatched down in this era because of this reason. They went into the ground thinking they were going to be celebrated forever. A lot of them people, we don't look at them the same way. Now, had they stood up for the right things, even though they wouldn't have been popular in their day, it would have aged well, and they would have ultimately had the legacy that they were intending to have. Mistaken. Simply mistaken. And that is what I'm ultimately trying to help people understand, or at least put into their minds, as a possibility. Like, some of y'all just on the wrong side, thinking y'all on the winning side as front runners, when y'all need to be praying a little more, believing in a God that's better than you. Once you have that variable in mind and you stop believing in people that are doing wrong, and thinking that that's the way to stay, or like it change or something like that. That lack of faith, man. I'm telling you, that's how they've been able to stay in power. They have faith. We can keep our foot on these people's neck even when they rise. Why? Because we got God on our side. Meanwhile, we sitting up here saying, man, these people treating us terrible, but we ain't got no choice. We just got to sit here. See the difference? They ain't working with them pretenses, even though they literally wrong. At some point in time, we got to realize how they got what they got and how they keep keeping it. It ain't because they are so all-world powerful. It's because they keep doing the buck breaking, and the example works. Y'all get scared. Y'all turn coward, and that's what it is. Simple. That's how they stay in power. 1 buck breaking equals 1 million compliant Negroes. Until it doesn't anymore. Simply what I'm saying to you. Until it freaking doesn't. Until they do that, and they realize the Negroes aren't moved. They realize the Negroes are disciplined, third eye open, and all that as they're doing it, just staring at them like, we prayed up. Ain't none of your energy gonna harm us. We just gonna watch you hang yourself with the rope that you putting on around your necks, doing what it is that you're doing that you have no business doing. That's what that is. That's exactly how that goes. They're used to us reacting in ways that don't benefit our energy, but we're smarter now. We're growing now. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. Like they're used to us being able to act all crazy. When we get buck broken, it's like, all right, boss, we're gonna turn our attention to the next black man. Yeah, brother, you my enemy. No, not this time. Not this time. He's just not. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.